Welcome to Limitless and Unfiltered. I'm Jenny Kramer, and this is my co-host, Maria DeCarmo. This is a space where we get real, raw, and unfiltered about life, business, and everything in between. Because let's be honest, navigating ambition, relationships, and personal growth isn't always easy, but it's totally worth it. Here we challenge the norms, break through the limits, and have the conversations that no one is having. Without the fluff, without any of those filters. So if you're ready to step into your power, own your story, and build a life that's truly yours, then you're in the right place. So let's dive in because together we are limitless and unfiltered.
Yay, I'm so excited. Welcome to episode, I forgot what we're on now. I think it's 5. It's 5, right? It's 5.
I think so.
Whatever. Welcome back to our episode, guys. I'm so happy that you are here and tuning in. We are going to throw a curveball at our podcast today because we decided that we are just not going to prepare anything for this podcast episode and we were just going to go by the seat of our pants. And we're going to ask each other 5 random questions. Neither Jenny or I know what each other is going to ask. And so you're going to get the most unfiltered responses. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the first question for Jenny. Jenny, are you ready?
I'm a ready Maria.
All right. So some of these are going to be funny and you know, some of these are kind of like maybe spicy. All right. Number 1.
Yeah.
What's one thing you swore you would never do as a mom, but now you totally do? And I know obviously you're 5 months in, but what is that for you?
Oh. Fuck. I don't know. Okay, so Anthony and I have a dog who I'm absolutely obsessed with, and I was like, if I could wrap my dog in bubble wrap, I would, because like I'm super overprotective, right? And I always said, I'm like, I'm never gonna be like that with a child. Oh yes, if I could wrap my child in bubble wrap,
You
I
totally would.
totally would. And like freak out about like the smallest things. And maybe it's because I'm a first time mom, so I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah, I guess that's probably what it is. I always said I'd be like cool and easygoing about everything, and I'm like all stressed out about like the smallest things.
So what are you stressing about?
What am I stressing out? My gosh, when he got diaper rash, I'm like, what the fuck do I do? Like, obviously diaper cream, but I'm like, is it gonna get better? You know, and just like questioning myself about that. But yeah, I feel like one thing that I said I wouldn't do, and I haven't done it, I would like to say it because I'm quite proud about it.
Yeah, tell me.
I know a lot of people can be like super finicky when they have a new baby and like having other people hold them or, you know, not wanting anyone to hold them, touch them, anything like that. I'm not like that at all.
Wow. That's
Yes.
like rare for a first time mom.
Yes, like I'm okay with it, especially like my close circle of people, like my mom, my mother-in-law, you know, close family members and friends. I'm okay with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm actually quite proud of myself about that.
Yeah, that's crazy because most like first time moms are definitely like, oh, they don't feel so comfortable with people touching their baby when they're so little.
Yeah, no, I was, you know, after 3 months, I was fine with it, right?
Yeah, I would like to say that I wasn't like that, but also I was.
Yeah.
So not like you.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've Googled at 3 a.m. since becoming a mom?
Okay, this is like me every night.
I've been through Google.
This is me every single night. Yeah, my daughter had a lot of like colic when she was a newborn. We actually struggled a lot with that. She would choke. And no matter what we like bought her, whether it was like, you know, the inclined pillow to sleep on, which, you know, some moms are not okay with, and Safe Sleeping says that's not a good thing. But anyways, nothing worked. She was on her back. She would literally have so much acid reflux that she would choke.
Really?
Yeah, it was so bad. At first I thought it was colic, and then we realized that it was acid reflux, like after being admitted to like a pediatrician. So anyways, so one night, like we had just been night over night over night of like just nonstop having to have her eyeballs glued to her because she was so tiny that when she would have the acid reflux and start to choke on her own acid reflux, it was so hard to hear. It was like it was high pitched but so low tone at the same time that if you weren't watching, like she was choking. And so there was one night I'm like just staring and like my tears are coming down because I'm so exhausted at this
For
point and like
sure. Yeah.
overwhelmed, yeah, stressed out. I like pulled my phone out and I could hear Juan sleeping because we would take turns. And I could hear him sleeping and I took my phone out and I literally booked Google and I typed in signs of being a bad mom because I literally thought that I was doing something wrong with her. And let me tell you, that is a dark hole. You do not want, do not Google that.
Yeah.
Do
No.
not Google that. So that was like one thing. At that point, it was just like scary, right? Because I didn't know what to do with her, and so I was trying to find solutions, but that was not the question I should have been asking Google. There's lots. There's so many that I could share because it's your brain is on overdrive at 3 in the morning, especially like if you're feeding a
Hmm.
baby and you're just like, what is going on? And I think once my biggest, actually, this one's a funny one. One middle of the night feeding, I was like, I need to keep myself awake because the baby still needs to feed and she falls asleep. So I'm constantly like having to wake her up. I started to Google like different animals, like what's
Oh.
the strongest animal? And I went down a hippopotamus rabbit hole and they are so scary. That kept me up all night. Like kept me up.
They're from the like I swear they're from the dinosaur ages.
Seriously. Have you
Yes.
seen them in water when they're charging at you?
Oh no, but I'm gonna have to look that up.
Now you have to look it up because it is absolutely the most frightening thing I've ever
They're
seen.
very violent animals.
Yes. I didn't
Yeah.
know that
You don't fuck
until,
around with a hippo.
nope, I didn't know. Well, because I was always like, they kind of look funny, like the big mouth and like the tiny little ears. I never in my
They're
life,
cute, but
yeah, kind of, but
not
yeah.
really.
Oh my God. Yeah. So like 3 a.m. rabbit hole into hippos. It was ridiculous. It kept me up, and then moving forward, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going to keep me up is to watch videos of hippos charging at you.
Oh my good
Ridiculous.
Lord.
How about you?
One thing that I kept on Googling was when is my baby gonna sleep through the night? All the time.
You still do that?
Literally, like it was like 3 weeks in, and I'm like, when do babies start sleeping through the night? They're like, you're lucky if you get like 6 consecutive hours at 6 months. And then I would read by their first birthday, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to wait 12 months. Like
Yep.
it literally felt like the end of the world was coming towards me. Yeah, that's what I was looking up.
Dude, it's because sleep is like sleep deprivation is a form of torture, and
Oh,
we do it
100%.
willingly.
Yes.
We do
Yes.
it willingly with a child.
Yes, but it's so weird. Like back in the day, like I could stay up late. I could
Yeah.
like bartend until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, go home, sleep for 3 hours, wake up, go do hygiene,
Yeah, no problem.
and be okay.
Oh, I can't do that now. No,
Yeah, it's a little
absolutely not.
wild.
Yeah, no. All right, you ready for question two?
I am.
All right. This is gonna be a good one. Have you ever stayed in a friendship or a relationship out of guilt and not love?
Yes, of course.
All right, talk to me about it.
I feel like when you've invested so much time with somebody, you feel obligated to stay in whichever the relationship is because of the time that you've invested, right? So you feel like it would be a waste to throw it away.
Hmm.
I did it both with friendship and in a love relationship. But to the point where, like, in a love relationship, I started to feel very like I got the ick. You
Oh,
know, you start to get like the ick about the person, and not because they're potentially, this person wasn't a bad person. It was just, I just didn't have those feelings anymore. And every
hmm,
little thing starts to kind of like turn you the wrong way, right? Like
hmm.
turn you off. So yeah, most definitely have felt that.
And so, for anyone listening, what advice would you give if they're in that position of like, should I keep this friendship or love relationship or not?
No, let it go.
Yeah,
There's
learn,
so
learn.
many other amazing people in the world, and life is so short, so why are you going to live it uncomfortably?
Yes.
Right? Like
Now,
why?
with your friendship situation, what was that? Did you guys just outgrow? Because I've been through that. Like, I've outgrown friends and stayed kind of being friends because of what you said. Like, I felt like I needed to because of how the length of time that we had been friends before, or like any reason really. But for you, what was that like in friendship?
Yeah, I would say it's more of somebody that you've known for so long where it's hard to let them go because you look
Hmm.
back on like life and the experiences and like sometimes family is involved and it makes it
Mm-hmm.
challenging or like mutual friends, right? But I feel like it's okay to grow apart. People change, and they say like every 7 years you evolve as a human. Your likes, your wants, your needs, they change, and it's okay to outgrow people.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. So,
Thank
right
you.
on, Jenny.
All right. Is it my turn?
Yes, it's your turn.
Okay. If motherhood came with a superpower, what would yours be?
Ooh. Wow, I have to think about this one. Okay, if motherhood came with a superpower, for me, it would be get, being able to take away my child's pain when they're
Hmm.
in pain. So, like when they're sick, I wouldn't say, okay, so here's the other coin to that, the other side of that coin. It's not taking away their pain when they struggle through life things. So, like for example, I'm very much the mom of like if my kid falls at a playground, obviously I'm going to go to them, but I'm going to walk them through like, okay, what are you feeling? Where did you get hurt? I'm not the type of mom that like immediately picks them up and coddles them. Obviously, you gauge the situation, but I'm not one to like go helicopter immediately and get on top of them and see that. I want them to experience what it's like to problem solve in those situations because I'm not always going to be there, right? Especially if you think of like when they go to school or whatever, right? So I'm not talking about that type of pain because I feel like that's part of human evolution, and I think that it makes kids stronger when they can analyze the situation that they're in and be like, all right, like, what can I do here, right? Like, where am I going? But for example, when they get sick, I wish that my superpower could be like, okay, remove the pain. So when they have a fever or teething, because teething was absolutely horrendous, like when they're constipated, when my daughter had acid reflux and she couldn't fend for herself, like,
Yeah,
I would wish that I could just, like, okay, you don't need to be experiencing that, Like, I wish I could
for
definitely
sure.
absorb
Yeah.
that. So, yeah. But other stuff, they can experience a little pain. They gotta learn.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, it is tough. And it's tough because I had them so back to back. So with my daughter, I feel like by the time that we got to like the park stage, I was very big. Like I already had my second in my belly, and she was kind of wobbling around, and anytime she would fall, because they do, that's kind of how they learn,
Yep.
right? And anytime she would fall, like it still gives me like like a little bit of like anxiety in my chest, but I was like a penguin at that point. I'm like waddling to get to her, right? So I feel like for me it was kind of like forced, like okay, you can't run towards her. But then when I had my second, and we were at that park stage, now I've got two toddlers that are essentially one's penguin and the other one is like now she can run. It was different. It was a different experience because I could see that like okay, because I essentially couldn't go to her right away, she had already developed that like if she fell and she saw no blood, or she fell and she felt like it wasn't a big hurt, she would get up, she would look at me for reassurance, I would give her a thumbs up, she would give me a thumbs up, and away she went.
Right.
Whereas like, we had friends in our group that they didn't raise their kids that way. They raised them to like as the minute they fall, they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Baby, you're all right." And like the more I find that the more chaotic you are when your child falls or something, the more they freak out too. So if you can stay calm, as hard as that is, if you can stay calm and like really assure them that you're there for their safety, but like, hey, are you okay? Like, what are you feeling? Then I feel like they really like figure it out. They're
Yes.
not always like fully dependent on you, which is crazy because I still see them as like my little babies, but
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good way. That's a really good way to put it. Because going back to my dog, because I consider him my firstborn.
Of course.
Yeah, like I did a lot of things with him, like being super overprotective and he like this poor guy. I have a Boston Terrier, so he's like super sensitive, has like
Mhm.
allergies and would break out into hives if he got like a spider bite
Oh,
or a mosquito bite, and we'd have to
oh.
rush him to the emergency, and I would like freak out, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm like, oh my God, like they would get pretty damn bad, Maria. And then
Mm-hmm.
even when he scratches, so he scratches himself because he has a bit of anxiety when we leave him by himself because he's a COVID puppy. So he's never
Mm-hmm.
really been left alone. And we come home and he like literally rips himself apart
Oh my
sometimes.
God.
Yeah. And I'll look at him and his poor little ears will go back because like he knows that like he thinks, it's not that he knows, he thinks that I'm upset at him, but I'm not.
Of course.
I'm just stressed for him, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like taking back from that, I want to try to make sure I don't do the same thing with the child because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't want to
And
be
it's
overbearing like that. I feel
mhm.
terrible, but it was just like a normal response on my end.
Yeah. And you'll see it. It is a very normal response. Like, don't get me wrong, when she would fall and I didn't have Nico, I would like freak out internally. But I don't know if it came from like my parents and like that background, but like I really was like, okay, you need to stay calm for her. And it's hard because that's emotionally regulating yourself before you get to your child, and
Hmm.
that's hard as fuck.
Yeah. No shit.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's times when she falls or like he falls where like I can see that it's not just like a bump or like a little scrape, and of course you go and you attend to them, but yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah.
My turn. This can get
Oh
spicy.
God.
Okay, what is something you used to believe because of religion or culture that you now realize was never actually truth?
Oh God.
Yeah, it's a tough one. First of all, did you grow up religious, if of any kind?
So, no, really. I would say, like, we grew up in a household where we believed in God. And I would say, like, my family was more like spiritual. So we believed, this is a tough one.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
It could be religious or it could be like your culture, like something that you grew up with that you were like, "Oh, that wasn't actually right or that wasn't true."
No, I wouldn't say like there is anything. Like, for me, growing up, so my mom is West Indian,
Hmm.
my dad was American Jewish. And I don't know, I was just always brought up to like everybody is just the same to me. I don't know.
Nice.
Like the way my mom brought me up, it was just like we treat everybody the same, like
Hmm.
you're good to people that are good to you, and if people aren't good to you, you just walk away. Yeah, and keep your words to yourself. And
Hmm.
I was always taught like if you don't have anything good to say, don't say
Don't
anything.
say it. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's just yeah.
Okay, you ready? Because I'm gonna stir the pot.
Okay, yeah, sure. That was really tough because it's like, God.
You're like, no, I'm pretty good. Okay, so maybe this will spark something new. Okay, so I grew up in a Catholic household. I'm both mom and dad Catholic, went to church every single weekend, and I've carried on the Catholic faith through my kids and their upbringing. However, I have this thing where I don't believe that you need to go to the church every single weekend to be a good Christian, Catholic, whatever religion that you actually belong to.
Yes.
I think that the division between the denominations, whether you're like Christianity or Catholicism or Presbyterian or, Jewish, whatever, I think that is all meant to divide people. I hate it. And it's something that, like, if you grew up very Catholic faith, I'm going to talk Catholic because that's what we grew up with. But if you grew up in that very, like, Catholic household, that's something that if you say to your parents, it comes as a shock because they're like, no, that doesn't create division. We're just all different religions per se. But to me, I feel like it creates division. Now, one of the things that for me I grew up with was believing because it was taught and I'm not sure if this is a Roman Catholic thing, but also a mixture of the Latin culture. So I'm going to bring
Hmm.
both of those in. And most Latin countries are very, very Catholic. So we grew up, if you were a female, we grew up with the notion that if you had premarital sex,
Hmm.
you were tainted.
Okay.
Yeah, like tainted. Like you were told like if you had sex before marriage, you weren't gonna find a partner that
Maria, did you have sex before marriage?
Mom, don't listen to this.
I had to. I had
Go straight
to.
to hell.
What?
I'm going straight to hell.
Okay. You better go to confession.
No, she can't even, they can't say anything because I know things. They can't say anything. But yeah, that was the Latin culture. That was our culture. It was, specifically if you were female. And that was what really bothered me growing up because this is no shade to my brother because I have such a beautiful relationship with both of my brothers. But my brother was only a year younger and he was allowed to do things that I was prohibited from doing. And it was because of that. Because one, I was a female, and two, because if your partner that was going to get married to you ever found out that you had sex before you married them, it was going to be the end of the world. And so I grew up with that. And let me tell you that if you are in that same position, it's not true. It's not true. It doesn't taint you. It doesn't make you less of a woman. It doesn't make you nothing. There's nothing negative to that. And it's tough because now I have a daughter.
Yeah.
Huh.
You
Now I
want
have
to
a
put a
daughter.
chastity belt on her.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, I don't know, people did not believe me growing up, but like, I was a good girl, like, truly. And yes, if you knew me from back then, yes, I showed my cleavage. Yes, I did. Okay. But I did not know anything. I didn't know anything. I was not involved in any sexual relationships for a very long time. I was probably the last of my group of friends to give that up. But it came from a place of like just not wanting to, partially because of the fear, to be honest with you, because that was
Yeah.
that was the other thing. It wasn't just that you were tainted and going to hell. I say it and I laugh.
Because now you're laughing, but
Back
then you were
then,
like scared shitless.
exactly. But it wasn't just like that. It was so ingrained that as a female, if you had sex, you were going to get pregnant immediately. So for me, like I held out for so long because in my head I was like, well, I want my career, I want to travel, I want to make money and like enjoy. So I'm just not going to risk getting pregnant. And like there's nothing wrong with that, but like in my head it was because the first time that I did it, I was going to
That
have a
was
baby.
it. Your innocent was gone.
Gone, tainted forever. So, so I joke
Wow.
about that now. I'm like I have a one-way ticket to hell. So
No, you're a good person.
yes, yes. So that is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying it. Mom, Dad, don't listen to this.
I know. My God.
That's fine. Married with kids now. We're good.
Yeah, you're good. Safe zone.
Uh-huh. All right, your turn.
Okay. If your life were a movie,
Hmm.
what would the title be? And who would play you?
The title would be Pure Chaos. Like,
Amen, sister.
pure chaos. Who would play me? Jeez. I don't know. I really don't know. Partially because I'm actually terrible with actresses and like names and stuff. I'm like, who's that funny? Who's that funny Spanish Salma Hayek? No.
Eva Longoria? Is that her name?
Yeah, Eva Longoria. I think it's her that a lot of people were like, "Oh, you look like her," but I don't think I look like her at all. She's got beautiful cinnamon skin, and I do not. I don't know. I don't know who would play me. I think I embody a lot of characteristics, to be honest with you. But yeah, title would be Pure Chaos because I feel like life is just pure chaos, especially in the trenches of motherhood and entrepreneurship and all of that mixed together. It's just like how there's no balance there. Like you try your best, but where's the balance, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't exist. And that's okay. Like, I feel like balance, it will come back. And I don't know for you, but for me, I feel like it's slowly starting to at that 6 month mark,
Nice. Good for
starting
you.
to surface back. But we'll see because motherhood is ebbs and yes,
Yep.
highs
Yeah.
and lows.
Literally, and it's nonstop. And I say pure chaos because it really is. The thing is with me, I think of life as chaotic. I don't, and I would be super bored if life didn't have some sort of chaos. Like I don't think chaos is bad. It just means it's always go, go, go.
Yeah.
So, like you said, there are some moments where I do find that I'm like, oh, this is really good. I'm like vibing with life.
Hmm.
And then as soon as I start to feel that, I'm like, something happens and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Beautiful
So.
chaos, I call it.
There it is. That's the one. Beautiful chaos. That's it.
Yep.
All right, you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay. Do you think most people are actually happy in their relationships or just comfortable?
Comfortable. I would say majority. I can't say majority. To me, I feel like a lot of people are in relationships for comfort, right? And I feel like that could be also friendships, romantic relationships. I feel like a lot of people who got married super early to have challenges as well, because as mentioned earlier in the podcast today, people change every
So often.
7 years ish, they say, right? So I feel like who you were when you were 20, you're going to totally be a different person at 30. And then from 30 to 40, a huge, you're different, right? Like you're evolving. And I feel like you aren't who you were,
Mm.
right? You just change. And that's okay because change
Mhm.
is good. Change is good.
Absolutely. You want to find someone that also changes with you.
Yeah. So yeah, so I feel like a lot of people stay in relationships out of fear, out of comfort, out of judgment. What are people going to say? And I think people just pretend a lot to be happy because they put on a show.
Hmm.
They're acting. Um, yeah, it's pretty sad, but I look back like if I freaking got married to the person I was dating when I was 25, well, I would have been married and divorced by now.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm
Absolutely.
like, thank the Lord I didn't do that.
Yeah. So what would you give as an advice to someone who's kind of like in that comfort zone?
Honestly, like I've said before, like life is too short. Life is way too short. Life is very precious. Speaking from like personal experiences or experiences that I've heard from people that I know, like, life is very fragile.
Hmm.
And you just got to live your life to the fullest. It's not all about work and making money and success. Like, let me tell you, all those things are grand, but like, if you don't have your health, if you're not loved, if you're not happy, none of that shit
Right.
matters. Yeah.
100%. Oh my God. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nailed it. There was a saying that my grandpa used to say, and he would say, if there are some people that they are so poor that the only thing they have is money. And when you think about it, you can probably think of someone that has all of the money in the world, but is so unhappy with their life. And then you wonder, and I'm not saying that money is bad because we talked about this in our other episode. I believe that money is great and it can be used for so much goodness. But there are some people that's all they have, and that they don't have, like what you said, love and affection from people who truly care about them, and that is fucking sad. That's sad.
No, totally is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, we can go on that one for a long time. Amazing.
Okay, so let me see. I would love to know three must have baby products you would mandatorily need and or recommend to a new mom.
Oh my God. Okay, number one, the nose Frida. If you do not
Oh,
have a
yes, yes, got it. Oh my God, AJ
if
hates it,
you
but
do
yes.
not have a snot sucker, you need a snot sucker. Okay? Whether it's the one that, like, you suck yourself, which
Hmm.
when I got gifted that, I was like, I am not doing that. I'm like, that is fucking nasty. And then I had to, because my son got sick like within the first month of being alive, and he was so stuffed up and I had nothing else, and I'm like, oh, I guess I gotta suck his snot out. There's a filter
Oh,
there. It's not gonna be in your mouth. It's fine. But that is a must have. Number one must have for me is that 100%, because it comes in handy more times than you think, because the
mhm.
kids don't have to be sick in order for them to be all like congested and snotty. It's so important to have that. Number two, wow, I thought I was going to be really quick with this. Number two, I mean, I would say a thermometer, but again, this is parenting styles are so different. I am very much a mom that when my child feels warmer than normal, even if I do take their temperature, which I do, yes, thermometer is very important. When I take their temperature and it's a low grade fever, or even when it's like an actual, like, okay, they have a fever, I still let their bodies fight that off naturally.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
yeah, I don't resort, that's the parenting choice that we make. I don't resort to pharmaceuticals for them when they have a fever or a low grade, just because I know through biology that the rise in temperature of their body is that their body is fighting whatever is going on, bacterial infection, viral infection, and giving them pharmaceuticals to bring that down only helps with pain management, which sounds like I'm terrible for not wanting pain management for my kids, but I would rather not suppress their white blood cells from fighting
Hmm.
whatever it is that's going on in their body and then building that immunity. There is a fine line where I'm like, there's no negotiable, we're going to pharmaceuticals. When it gets too high to the point of potential, like, febrile seizures or any type of getting into the danger zone, of course I'm going to go to pharmaceuticals. But hence why you need a thermometer. So snot sucker, thermometer. It's the last thing that you need. I don't know. I'm a pretty chill mom, as you can tell. Like there's not
What's
something
like
that I'm like,
something that you really enjoyed where you're like, damn, like so happy I had this.
okay, so happy I had this is the baby Breeza or
Oh
baby
my
Brezza.
God, yes, yes, that was
Yeah.
on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, baby Breeza for sure. Especially because I had trouble breastfeeding with my daughter the first time and having to like pour powder into water and having to mix it. What a disaster. What a disaster.
Yeah.
And so when my second was born, I did produce a lot more milk with my second, but both my kids still needed to be supplemented. And I was okay with formula feeding. Like I had no problem with that because to me, fed is best. Doesn't matter how you feed them. So that made my life
I
a
know.
dream.
I know. It's
Do you know what's
crazy.
like beep out it comes
It's
like
like
perfect.
it's like an espresso for formula.
Yes. Oh my God. That's literally the best
Brilliant,
description.
brilliant machine.
Yeah. Whoever made that, like,
Yeah,
top notch. Top notch.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely top three for sure. How about you? I'm actually curious.
Yeah, so number one, so Baby Breeza is one of them, but I'll think of another one. Number one would have to be, it's called Owlet Sock, because it monitors the O2 levels. It
Hmm.
also will inform you of like when they're light sleep, when they're in a deep sleep, whenever they wake up. And it's to help prevent SIDS.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it has like an alarm system ring that will go off if it starts to detect like no
Yeah.
breathing.
Any abnormality. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really
So it's
cool.
it's amazing. It's not cheap. It is expensive, but at the end of the day, like for me, it's like a peace of mind when I'm going to
Yeah.
sleep now. And I wish I had done it sooner. Like we've had it for maybe a month, but like what a game changer.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing. So that would be number one. Number two is we had the snoo, which was awesome.
Uh-huh. I've heard so many good things about it.
Yeah, so the snoo is the bassinet that rocks the baby. It was great because it would speed up on its own if he started to wake up or was getting fussy. So that was great. But transitioning him out of the snoo into a non-moving crib was like a week of hell.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna ask
managed
you
to
that.
get through it, but that definitely was the only challenging aspect about getting him so comfortable in the snoo.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be number two. And then number three is a baby wipe warmer.
I never used one. Were
Oh
they really good?
my God. Okay, let's be real. When you're wiping your kid's butt, they hate the cold, right?
Yep.
Especially at
Yep.
like 3 o'clock in the morning. They're like, what the fuck are you putting on my
Yeah,
ass?
they're like, "Ugh."
Right? So I have a baby weight warmer and cheap and cheerful off Amazon. It was maybe $25, but it is amazing. And a spatula. It's like a special spatula for
For
putting
bum.
bum cream.
Yeah, because
Love
what's
it.
worse than putting it under your nail?
I know. So yeah, those are my go-tos.
Oh, that's amazing. I freaking love that. Now, I'm gonna throw a random question in here. It's not the question that I'm gonna ask you. I'll ask you that one now.
Okay.
But we were talking about like stuff for babies and like must-haves.
Hmm.
What do you think of co-sleeping?
Hey, at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for you and what's working for your child. We didn't do it. My husband and I, well, my husband's super rigid when it comes to like if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So he was like, no. So we started with the baby in our room, but in his bassinet. And then we ended up getting a night nurse for a few months. And so we had to move the bassinet into the baby's room. So basically, we didn't have to do the co-sleeping because we kind of trained him early on to be in his room
Mm-hmm.
because of the night nurse being there. So he was
Mm-hmm.
just always comfortable. But I say, like, if that's working for you and that's giving you sleep and giving the baby sleep and everyone's happy, do your thing.
Yeah. So that's a touchy subject because it obviously there are risks to co-sleeping. And every article and like, group that you're in, if you're in any like safe sleeping for kids group, they'll tell you like absolutely do not co-sleep. And originally with my daughter, we were very much so like, we're not going to co-sleep with her. Absolutely not, because of the safety. Obviously, as you progress in your motherhood, you start to realize exactly what you said. If it works for you, it works for you. And I'm not being insensitive to obviously, the cases that unfortunately have ended up in tragedy through co-sleeping. What I am saying is if I hadn't co-slept with my daughter, this is going to bring me to tears. There was one night where we hadn't co-slept. She was in our bassinet in our room beside my bed, beside my side. And for some reason that night, I said to Juan, I think I'm going to hold her tonight. And he was like, okay, like whatever makes you comfortable. And so it was the first night that I co-slept with her. And I was so exhausted, like so exhausted because it had been night over night over night of her choking in her like acid reflux that I was so exhausted that night that the only thing that woke me up in one of her episodes was because she was literally at my neck and I could hear her. Had she been in her bassinet, because Juan, once he passes out, he passes out.
Hmm.
But had she been in her bassinet, I don't think I would have woken up to react, to turn her over and back blow her because she would get really bad acid reflux. Like it would come up and she would hold it in her throat.
Oh my
So I had to
God.
essentially like CPR her. Like if we've all done CPR. So I would have to hold her head in my arms and literally back blow her until she would bring that out. And so had I not had her in my arms, I don't think that I would have listened to that because I was so exhausted. And so it was that moment that I was like, you know what? I understand that there's risks to co-sleeping with your child, but everything that we do in motherhood is a risk. It's a calculated risk that we all take, and it really is family per family and whatever works for mom and dad and baby. So obviously not diminishing obviously the effects of the dangers of that, but there are cases where like myself, like I don't think I would have woken up and it literally scares the shit out of me to think what would have happened if she would have been in her bassinet because we
Yeah.
were with a pediatrician every single week. She had a severe case of this because she was so little and she was born that the esophagus didn't form 100%, wasn't fully developed.
Hmm.
So when she would, throw up or the acid reflux would come up, it would just sit there. And it was just like, I mean, it was a fucking whirlwind of emotions. But I'm like, every time I see someone saying like, oh, co-sleeping is terrible, I'm like, I'm pretty sure co-sleeping saved my daughter's life. So
Yeah,
yeah.
like to each their own, right? Like
Mhm.
obviously there's the fear that people have that they're gonna roll over on their baby and
Mhm.
suffocate them. And yeah, that's a possibility, right? But it's also a possibility that they could be sleeping on their own and something like
Happens.
happen. Yeah, which is like God forbid, like,
I
you
know.
know.
Oh, let's change that.
Yes, don't
Change
like
that
that
tone.
topic.
Yeah, oh my God. Okay, you ready?
Is
My
this my
my
last
last
one?
question. This is your last one. Okay. This is random. What's a sound that instantly makes you spiral into irrational rage?
I freaking hate when people blow on food.
Stop.
I hate it. Like if my husband is eating soup and he's blowing on, now he just blows on it to piss me off. I
You're kidding.
fucking hate it. It makes the hair on my back stand up.
No. Okay, but Jenny, what if it's really hot?
I don't give a fuck. I don't know what it is. It like literally
You're
makes
kidding
me like,
me.
yeah, angry. Angry.
Oh my God. So okay, what do you do when your food's really hot? You just kind of let it sit there?
It's okay if I do it.
Oh.
Yeah. But if anybody else does it, especially my husband, it like really pisses me off. Poor guy. My poor husband.
I'm literally gonna pee myself. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
See, I knew there had to be something.
What's your thing?
My thing is people who chew with their mouth open.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
It,
like
fu-
that
it
either.
sends me. It sends me because I'm like, are you not listening to yourself?
No, I would say go back to the farm.
Like, please chew with your mouth closed. That's absolutely disgusting. I do not want to hear it. Like, please don't. Absolutely not. Like,
Awful.
gross. Gross. Oh my God, that fucking killed me.
All right, so my last question for you,
All right.
Maria. Are your children vaccinated?
Ooh.
And how do you feel about the mandatory vaccinations that are required for
Bro,
children?
you went there.
I saved it for last.
You went there. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a tough thing to navigate coming from the dental hygiene field. You and I are both dental hygienists. We're very much all about science. I believe in science. I believe that science evolves throughout, the evolution of everything. I actually believe that science should always be evolving. The things that we know from last year could be completely different and evolved this year. We know about viruses and mutations of viruses. We know that every single virus will have more than one strands. Like that shit is not new to us because we are in this field. We are in the healthcare field. So my kids are vaccinated, but okay, so Veronica, I think I stopped vaccinating her, I want to say at 18 months. There's one after 12. I think it's 12, 18, and then I think it's like 2, 4, and then they just keep going. I stopped at 18 months. For Nico, I stopped vaccinating him after, I think, 9 or 6. No, I think it's 2, 4, 6, 12. Yeah, so no, after 12. So one less than her. It was a decision that came from obviously doing my own research, asking a lot of questions, and all of that through the pandemic. And through the pandemic, my husband and I decided not to get vaccinated. That was a personal decision. Obviously, for us, for me mostly, that came from having experienced, adverse effects to medication back when I was 21. And so for me, I question everything. And my questions came from how rapidly this vaccine had been manufactured. It just something in my gut was like, just don't do it. And I am the only one out of, my whole side of the family that did not. And there was a lot of pressure from not just family, but like friends and, disagreements about all that. So that trickled into vaccinating my kids. And so we stopped at a certain point, which now talking about like them going to school. Luckily, where they're at right now, they are at a nature school, and the nature school does not require you to have any vaccinations on your kids. But I know that if they were to transition into a traditional school system, there would be some red tape we would have to go about. There are some exemptions that you can file for and all of that. And I know right now it's such a hot topic because in schools there's the talk about the measles spreading and all of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things happening. And well, I have a take on that. Okay, and my take is this. If you are somebody who vaccinates yourself and your children, why are you so afraid of the people who are unvaccinated? Like essentially what you are vaccinating yourself with should protect you from whatever it is that you are vaccinating yourself with. So the fear of like, I'm vaccinated, but I'm afraid of an unvaccinated person, even through COVID, like through the pandemic, did not make sense to me. Because if you feel like you're protected, what does it matter that somebody else beside you isn't? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that yeah, I don't agree with mandatory vaccination. I think that is wrong. I think that infringes on people's rights, and that's my personal opinion. And I know a lot of people will not agree with that. But I am not somebody who gives a shit. I remember being asked by patients. I remember being asked by coworkers, like, "Oh, did you get vaccinated?" And this, and I'm like, when the hell has this ever been a thing? Like, nobody asked me about my vaccinations prior to this craziness of the world. Why is it such a huge thing
Yeah.
now? And I feel like it's being trickled now into what's happening with measles and into what's happening in the school system. And I have friends that their kids have been suspended. So it is very much like, these kids are being singled out. And I think that's so wrong because now these kids are subject to bullying and now these kids are subject to being singled out in front of their whole class. Like it's creating this whole atmosphere of like kids at young ages being like, "Oh, I don't want to play with you because I know you were suspended because of, you don't have your vaccines." Where I'm like, that creates a lot more problems than not. So to me, I don't agree with mandatory vaccinations. I truly believe that if you are vaccinated, you should have nothing to worry about. like
Hmm.
truthfully. Like, why are you worrying about somebody who's not? At the end of the day, the person who's not vaccinated is taking their own risk.
Right.
So yeah, my kids probably will not have more vaccines after this, like after I had stopped. And also too because I feel like the vaccine world has changed so much. Because back in the day, like if you were to look at the list of ingredients, it's not what is in the vaccines now. And why are we having to have boosters after boosters after boosters of things? And I'm just like, even when, because I'm fully vaccinated, like as a child, right? Fully vaccinated. My parents fully vaccinated us, and even talking to my parents, they're like, why are the kids needing to be vaccinated again? Like, your records were, let's say, 4 vaccines, and your kids are already at like 8. Like why is that a thing? So I don't know. I mean, that's a personal preference for me, and I'll stick to that. Yeah.
That is a-okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so like yourself, like I strongly believe in science. Yeah, my husband and I decided that we are vaccinating our child. We're only giving him the vaccines that we had as a kid.
There it is.
So we're not doing anything extra. Like they wanted to give him, I think it's like the new vaccine for, oh gosh, that they would give like the elderly to prevent like,
Like pneumonia and all that. That new one.
yeah.
Yeah. Why?
And we're like, how long has like we did some research and it's like it was just approved 1 month ago for infants.
Yeah. Red
We're
flag.
like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that, which is fine, right? Like to each their own. I think there's another new one, which is the chickenpox vaccine, where it's like chickenpox vaccine. Like I
Yeah.
remember like back in the day, like moms would get together if one kid had the chickenpox, have like a
Yes.
chickenpox
Spread it.
party.
Yep.
Yeah. And just like listen, I get it. There's like that one in a million where there's like a terrible effect with somebody getting chickenpox, but like,
Hmm. Hmm.
we were all kids. Most of us had chickenpox.
Hmm.
We were all okay. Maybe had one or two scars from itching them too hard. Like, there you go. Yeah, so yeah, we're good with giving him just the vaccines that we've had, but nothing new, nothing
Hmm.
extra. Yeah. Like,
So, yeah, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead.
So let me ask you. So because of what you just said, like nothing
Hmm.
new,
Hmm.
why did you guys take that stance? Like what is it about new vaccines? I have an answer for this, but what
Yeah.
is it about new vaccines?
Well, I guess there's like lots of studies that say like vaccines are linked to kids with autism and ADHD and all of this stuff. And is it true? I don't know. Are there studies? Absolutely, right? Do I want to believe them all? Are they true? No, yes, maybe. Who knows, right? Am I willing to risk it on something that hasn't truly been studied enough?
Hmm.
No, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with vaccines. Am I super petrified about this whole measles outbreak? Absolutely. I'm like, why the fuck are we bringing measles back? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I don't think people understand, like, listen, to each their own, okay? But I don't think a lot of people understand how bad the situation can be. Like, people thought the pandemic that we just had was bad. Like, if polio or like measles come back, like,
Yeah.
that's bad shit.
So
And let
and
me
that's
tell you, that's not even comparable to having the flu.
Yeah, and do you remember when you and I did Rotary and we would go and do the
Yes.
polio like awareness and like all this stuff?
Yes.
So I've said the same thing. I agree with you and Tony there on like, well, listen, what we had as children, I have no problem
Yeah.
vaccinating my kids with that. And again, like this is the thing. This topic is going to get hate from both sides.
Of course.
I am like you, very science-based, and so things that we know that have, been a good outcome and that have been prevented and have had decades of success, I have no problem with that. For me, like you, all the new things that have come out or like the extras that they've
Hmm.
added on as an addition to children's vaccines, I question because of the state that we are in right now. Whether people want to admit it or not, we are right now post-pandemic mandates at a point where we are seeing the side effects of what people got 4 or 5 years ago.
For sure. Takes at least 10 years for any
At
type of side
least.
effect to actually take effect, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying. We're at like year 5 of just seeing
yeah,
the beginning of this. That's where for me, for my kids, I'm like, I can't justify putting something new into their body that was released a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, because I'm like, we do not have enough evidence of what could potentially happen down the road, and I'm not willing to make my child a test trial for
yeah,
that. Like, and that's to me where I'm like, I draw the line there where I'm like, again, if it's got the decades of research, okay. Like how can you argue that? It's there. I would never put my child at risk for polio. Like that is so, so, so dangerous. But like things that are new, I'm like let's just wait a little bit, right? Like let's just wait until we have more evidence, we have more clinical trials, we have more things coming out because we're kind of in that space right now where 5 years ago people decided and some of them were mandated because they couldn't go to their jobs. And now we're seeing side effects pop up where it's like, I don't want to say I told you so, but like we are in that phase right now.
100%.
I see it with friends, I see it with family. It's very unfortunate and I wish it wasn't the case. But for my kids, I'm like, I'm not willing to put them in that risk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally get
Teach
that.
their own on that. That was a spicy one, Jenny.
I know, just had to throw that in at the end.
Yeah, holy.
Well, I guess that's it for tonight. Thanks for everyone who tuned in to tonight's chat. We hope you enjoyed it. It was kind of a spicy one.
Just a little side note, neither Jenny or I are giving you any type of medical advice. You definitely should consult with your medical professional. We just gave you our opinions, so don't take that as don't take that as advice from us, okay? All right, everyone.
Have a great evening and thanks so much for tuning in.
Catch you on the next one.